Things might get weird.
Yeah.
Welcome to our life.
Record. 3, 2, 1. We're so official. Welcome back to another episode of the Hewlett House podcast. We have good friends here today. We're excited to chat with.
So excited.
I don't know how excited they are yet, but we'll have fun.
We'll be good.
Everybody looks good.
Yeah.
Happy Memorial Day to everybody.
Yeah.
Got the day off.
Yes.
Do you say your daughter's starting her job today?
First job. Yeah.
First day.
Awesome.
First official
She's
job.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're man, this will be a fun episode. We'll try to stay on track here, I guess, and really it's a podcast, it's open forum, so however we want to go with this. But I wanted to have Brandon and Amanda on. We went to high school together and
Gregory.
talk about Brandon and Amanda Gregory, sorry. Amanda's maiden name is Thompson, right?
Yes.
I'm related to some Thompsons, by the way.
Oh, I
I
didn't
wonder
know
if like in some world we're related. Check our genealogy
Possible.
later. Yeah. And then my dad knew your parents, by the way. He talks really highly of your mom. He like,
She's
and your
amazing.
grandparents, right? Was your grandpa like a builder or something?
So my mom's dad, yeah, it was Lamoureux Construction.
Lamoureux.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he talks really
American Fork. Yep.
cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that to you.
Oh,
He's-
I love that.
He really liked your parents and your grandparents, and anyway.
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah. And Matt tells you what he thinks, you know? So it's good. Right, Dad?
Yeah. It's not hard to like my mom, so I understand that.
Cool.
That's awesome.
But I wanted to have these guys on because Brandon early on was someone that we were showing him homes like, I don't know, how long has it been? A few years ago now.
Dude, we were with you for so many years.
That was awesome, yeah.
Forever.
We took our first realtor at least for a ride for about a year, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
Yeah.
So we got it.
Years, I think.
I don't know, because we were looking for the longest time, like 6 or so years, but I think the last 2 years of it looking was you. So
Really? And it was off and on. It wasn't like every weekend we were out, but
yeah.
We'd see something cool, and then you'd be like, hey, let's go look at it.
Yeah.
yeah. And then I just knew Amanda had she knew what she wanted and we weren't finding it. So I said, let's go talk to a builder. And then you guys were able to kind of customize it. And they live in a beautiful house.
We love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Good.
You like the area and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a good spot. We just did a spec home just on the Mapleton side of you guys.
Okay.
Like kitty corner from that Maverick over there. We finally just sold it. It took a while, but
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a weird market. So.
yeah, when you hit that $1 million range, things are slower. So with rates at 7%, you know,
Yeah. It's insane.
you got into the right time,
worth it.
man. At
Yeah,
least
we
you did the-
literally did. It was, like 2 weeks later, and it would have been a whole different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just finished a build with some friends with Arrive up in where your parents are.
Okay.
When we started the process, their build took almost like 18 months to do.
Wow.
And they started at like a 3%, and by the time they closed, they were like mid sixes. I think they
That's
were
crazy.
like debating
That's
on
insane.
do we ditch our deposit? Like, what do we do? And they made it work. I was kind of surprised, but
Wow.
It's
Anyway.
hard because that totally changes your payment each month.
a lot.
A lot. So it's like,
Not
yes, we can
original.
afford this. This is great.
Yeah.
Talking about
No.
hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
cheaper range.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole car payment, like a nice car payment by the time you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oof.
yeah. But anyway, I don't want to tell too much of your story, so I'll let you guys kind of tell. We all went to high school. I think it's funny, and I don't know how common this is, but I swear, like, we went to Lone Peak High School, and I'm shocked at how many other couples from Lone Peak dated and like married each other.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe we just are a different year or something like that, but I don't think there's a lot that can say that.
Yeah.
Like other schools and stuff. I don't know.
I think there was a Facebook group at one point. I don't know where it's at now, but there was a whole bunch of us.
Everybody that
Oh,
married
really?
each other,
Of
yeah.
married.
Oh, that's
Married
funny.
couples, yeah.
Oh, funny.
Was it like 20,
We never
30
got
couples, you
invited.
think?
Oh, it's
I don't
up
know,
there for
yeah.
sure. But we'll see at the graduation.
Yeah,
Not
the
graduation,
reunion.
Reunion.
Hell
You
yeah.
guys going?
We're in the graduation season right now.
Are you gonna go? No.
I usually don't go, no.
Oh, you gotta go.
This is 20, man.
It's a
I
big
know.
20
This
years.
is a big one.
Yeah.
When I heard people say they had been graduated for 20 years, I was like, those are old people.
Right. We're old now, I guess.
Yeah.
We have
Turns out.
teenagers.
Yeah.
So dumb.
I know. It's crazy.
But early on, I was elders quorum president. We've talked a little bit about this, so I'll be quick. But I was elders quorum president for a while. I had like a counselor that kind of dipped out on me, didn't want to be in a part of the church anymore. I had really close friends that I knew were strong in the church. Mormonism is what we're talking about. Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and I just had people kind of changing their faith, and so I was talking to Brandon, and he had an adjustment in his faith, and I started asking him questions, and he was really cool about it. He was really respectful and everything, and I thought you just said, hey, let's go to lunch and we'll go chat, or maybe I said that. I said, let's go meet up for lunch sometime. We met up in Draper, I think, and had some lunch, and you were even cool just to say, hey, you sure you want to talk about this? Like, there's some stuff we'll go over, and I'm like, bring it on, dude, just hit me with it. And so we started talking, and some of the best advice you gave me was chat with Jess, like talk to your wife about what you're reading, because you had kind of started studying, and I don't want to tell or assume too much, but it kind of seemed like you had kind of started studying and things started to change, and you're like, oh, I need to talk to my wife. And you kind of just shared your experience with me. And so that afternoon on my way home, I remember calling Jess and telling her, hey, I'm going to start studying some stuff. Don't want to be too naive to what I'm going to be reading, but I think always in the back of your mind, though, you think it's going to be better or easier than it really is, At least for me. Like, sure. I'm really good at making things hard. So, like, even work and stuff, you're just like, it's not going to be that bad. And then you get going, and it's always harder than you think it's going to be sometimes. But anyway, so I just wanted to kind of briefly, I guess, start with how you guys met. Tell us kind of your story. Tell us how many kids you have, if you're okay with that, and ages. And
go ahead, hon.
Okay. Well, we went to high school, like we talked about, and we started, I guess, officially dating. I don't know. We were kind of on and off, but it was our junior year.
Back in 2001.
Was it your junior year?
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered if it was junior or senior year.
And then he kept breaking my heart. No, I'm just kidding.
Freaking Brandon.
No, it was just high school, whatever.
Technically, we were official in 2002 during the Olympic time. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just went to some dances and dated around, and then graduated, and he went on his mission.
Where'd you go?
Houston, the Texas Houston East Mission.
Cool.
It was the mission, is what we called it.
Really?
THU, Texas Houston.
How many missions were there in Texas when you were there?
Just in Houston alone, there were 3. So
really?
You had the regular Texas, you had Texas South, or Texas Houston South, and then you had the East. East was the original area, and then they split them all up. But then, even when I was there, they split up the mission, and a lot of it went back to the normal, like, Texas Houston mission. So yeah,
crazy. Because Houston, that's the biggest city.
It's the biggest metropolitan area. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's what they consider a megalopolis. If you have a high tax dollar area, they'll consume you and become a part of Houston.
Wow.
Or if you're not producing enough taxes, then they'll drop you and you become your own little area.
Gotcha. Do they have like some of the biggest exporting area too? But a lot of people don't know that because it comes in through a big river there or something.
Yeah. So
it's random. Sorry.
No. It's a little random. There's a harbor there. It's the highest point in the Houston area. It's the 610 bridge. And that's where, like, Volkswagen, they bring all of their vehicles through. So you'll just go across that bridge, and you'll look over to the side and see all of their vehicles coming in. It's kind of
crazy.
Cool.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that till I worked in a wholesale doing sales, and they mentioned it was one of the biggest ports in the country or something.
There's also a couple battleships there. So
for
the military, like Battleship Texas is there, one of the old ones. You can take tours of it. But
right on.
And they have the best Shipley donuts.
Yeah.
So have you guys gone back?
Yeah.
I mean, just have said that.
He actually, that's where he was born.
I was born in Austin.
Oh, yeah. So he kind of
Family's
went
from
back
Houston.
to stomping grounds because his grandfather. Maybe you should say.
Yeah, so I'll go back. My grandfather was one of the original, I guess, people who got baptized in the Houston area for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, LDS Church. And his grandfather, so my great-great-grandfather, was one of the main guys who set up the Baptist Church in Texas. So they were very, very staunch Southern Baptist. And,
wow.
The story goes, and my grandfather told it almost every 6 months whenever we got together.
It was their Christmas Eve, basically.
Yeah.
That's cute.
They just kind of going back a little bit. There was the first children that they had were a set of twins, and the set of twins passed away shortly after they were born. And their story goes that essentially the Southern Baptist movement that was down there was telling them because they were not baptized, they are not going to heaven, they're not this, they're not that. So it was kind of earth shattering for my grandmother.
Yeah.
And, my granddad at the time was very much a lawyer, just kind of getting things up and going. And then my grandmom, for that matter, she was one that was just kind of searching for other things. And so the sister missionaries dropped by. And, let me back up. The elders dropped by first. And I think there was someone down the street, just looking back, obviously now from what we all know, that kind of knew they were going through a trial or a struggle. And so they send someone over there, and the elders were turned away almost immediately. But then the sisters, when they came back a couple weeks later, my granddad was not there, and my grandmom was. They talked for a minute, and something sparked in her. And then basically the rest kind of becomes history because they invited them back over. My granddad being a lawyer as well as a Southern Baptist, probably not the best mix.
Man.
Hard to convince, but
Yeah.
because my grandmom was big time invested into this, she convinced him to listen, and they did. And one thing led to another, and obviously they were baptized. And then they had 2 other children, and then it was my grandmom said that she got on her knees and prayed, and essentially got the I guess the confirmation that she was going to have another set of twins, and she did, which is how my dad and my uncle are now about.
Okay.
And then they had another 2 kids after that. So they had a total of 9 kids, 7 that are still alive, and obviously
Crazy.
the first 2 that have passed away. But anyways, going back to that same story with my granddad. So because he converted over, and him being as analytical as you can be when it comes to finding proof and so on, because of being a lawyer, he was very instrumental in the area in spreading the church in that area. And so he had a big, I guess, group of people that kind of followed his lead.
Yeah.
And so when I went back as a missionary, I kind of fell into some of those families, like the Prince family, the Packer family.
Really?
There's lots of, and these are Packers that, from what I understand, were part of the Hewlett Packard family.
Nice.
So the Packard.
Yeah. We're unfortunately not.
Unfortunately.
My grandma might tell you that we're like way distant relatives or something, but yeah.
Well, it's hard to know if even some of the stories I know are
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know how the Mormon folklore goes.
Sure.
But getting back into that family, that group, there was the LaPrays, the Princes, the Packards, and what's kind of scary about that area is that they're all like what you would think. They all marry each other.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Anyways, but yeah, so they kind of know who my grandfather was at the time, and so going back to the stomping grounds was a lot of fun. Just
It's
getting to know
not-
everybody.
Is that where, do you know the author, that Gregory Prince guy? Did you ever listen to him much? He's not a part of that, is he?
No,
Is
I
he
don't
from
know
there?
if he is or not, to be honest. I know that
Okay.
name, but I met the Princes, and I don't remember Greg, but I could be wrong.
Okay. He's the one that co-authored that book on David O. McKay. And I only got through, I actually want to go finish it. It was really kind of a fascinating book.
have to look
but
it up.
on
Yeah.
his life and
See if
everything.
it's him.
Pretty wild, and he's been on Mormon Stories a couple times or whatever too, but
Oh, that one.
He's
I
a
know
believing-
which one you're talking about, yeah.
Okay.
Not the same one, no.
okay, different.
But I think they have some relationship there because, anyways, the ones that I know are from Kingwood, Texas, which is
Okay.
still considered part of Houston.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would-
Yeah, I would say Kingwood is just a small little BYU fraction.
Oh, really?
Anybody who graduated from BYU with a business degree that wanted to get into oil, that's where they ended up, is Kingwood. So,
Gotcha.
There you go.
Right on.
anyways, that's the Houston story there. That's how I got to know
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's
Stomping
cool.
Grounds.
It was fun for him
Baptist.
because he would be talking to somebody and be like, "Oh, I know your grandfather," because
Yeah.
they help build
instrumental.
churches and whatnot too.
One of the big churches there, I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's in the Memorial area. And anyways, they had the only piped organ in the area. They were just trying to build something small, and he petitioned to make sure that they had the best of the best at the time, and he got the piped organ. So it's still
Yeah,
there,
that's
still
cool.
in function.
Oh, right on.
Cool.
Churches back then were different than they are now, because now they just have a cookie cutter, set it
Yeah,
up, and
yeah.
it's built. Whereas back then they had to almost crowdsource and
Oh, yeah.
get the funding for it, and then the members in the area would build portions of it, and get their talents and put everything into it. So
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So you grew up in, or like just were born there in Texas.
I was born in
and then
Austin. We lived there for, it was about a year and a half, 2 years. Then we moved to Alpine.
Okay.
But the Alpine was only for a short period of time. It was only for like 9 months. And it was actually the Pitcher family. Do you know the Pitchers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Pitcher family, Lauren Pitcher was the one that I think was your age.
Yeah.
We lived with them. In fact, she was a baby at the same time I was a baby there. And we had no idea. But my parents ended up moving to Salt Lake shortly after that. And then we moved to Sandy. Then we moved to Linden. Then we moved back to Alpine. And we had lived in like 2 or 3 different homes in Alpine. So my story's a little bit longer on that than Amanda's. But
I literally only lived in Pleasant Grove.
Yeah.
How old were you when you moved to Alpine for the last time? Like, went to junior high there, or were you grade school still?
We were in 4th grade.
Okay,
Yeah, 4th grade is when we moved there.
cool.
Cool.
Right on.
In fact, I knew
Yeah.
your brother, Brandon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you'd been there a long time, but I couldn't pinpoint when it was that you guys had come back.
So we were on that River Meadow Road, and y'all were on the Village Way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you
I
born and raised in PG.
yeah. I mean, I was actually
you want to tell the story?
yeah.
about
You could tell
Yeah.
that because he thinks it's so funny. My whole entire life, I thought I was born in the American Fork Hospital.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
And then like I don't know, 5 years
It
ago.
was it was a couple of years prior to your mom passing. But she's
Yeah.
like, you do know that the American Fork Hospital is not where it is today, right?
I had no idea.
yeah.
It's
Oh.
now a
It's a skilled nursing
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah.
So if you walk in, it smells like urine, the whole thing.
yeah. That's where I was born.
Listen, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean you
Does
and
that
I
mean-
were born over there?
We've been telling
You
our
better
kids this
find
whole
out.
time.
Yeah, that's so
That's
funny.
what I always
We
said.
were born in this hospital.
I didn't
the same
realize-
as they-
Yeah.
they had
I
been.
guess I should ask. I always thought AF Hospital too,
Yep.
where it's at now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
moved down
I,
the street. So it's a
yeah. It's kind of funny, right?
skilled nursing facility.
I know right where it is.
Yeah.
Just down from Forbes Elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my heck. Because right around when we were born, then it had to be switched over. Like it was.
It was pretty close to that.
Yeah.
Right?
Was
I
it?
don't think it was much farther after that.
When were you born? What's your birthday?
85
Okay.
April.
April 85. Well, I was June 85. Crap, maybe I was born there. How about
you
that?
go. Gotta ask
What
your
do you
mom.
think? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we should ask.
AF Hospital. We were like, tell our kids we were all born there. And like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
That's kinda funny.
Super
We're
funny.
gonna have to look that up.
I don't even know why it came about, but yeah, my mom thought I knew and I didn't. So
Oh my heck. That is way funny.
Yeah, so the joke
Yeah.
is that she was born in a skilled nursing facility,
Yeah.
not a hospital.
it's okay.
It's a little scary looking now.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
It was
right.
better back then. It wasn't
For
that
sure,
bad.
for sure.
How funny.
That's so funny.
But yeah, and then always. I mean, I moved from different houses, but I was always Pleasant Grove.
In that area.
Yeah, all my siblings went to Pleasant Grove High, but I was the traitor and went to Lone Peak.
And where do you fit? How many siblings do you have?
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
There's 4. I have 2 sisters, 2 brothers.
Total of 5, though.
Yeah, with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Why did you choose to go Lone Peak? You just had friends around there, or was it because of
Well,
money?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit. But no, it was just, we were on the border. I had a choice. I could either go to American Fork, Lone Peak, or Pleasant Grove.
Her home was right over there by the blue silos,
Yeah.
by the temple.
Oh yeah.
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 So they
Okay, we figured out.
they had a
Yeah.
choice of going to one of 3
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And my mom really liked Lone Peak, and I was like, I don't care. So
Yeah.
Her mom was very much into image.
Really?
You know
Yeah.
she was.
It was newer. It was nicer for sure.
Yeah.
I had gone to AF
It was
junior
world
high.
class, man.
That's right. Yeah.
it doesn't say that anymore. They took that
took
down.
it
No,
down.
they took that down.
Oh, they did.
Probably
Yeah.
good.
Probably when they finished AF and Lehigh and made them look nicer.
Yeah. Right.
Didn't someone in our grade tear down the C and the L and it said World
I want
Ass
to say
High
that was
School?
Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brandon
they did.
Lindra.
Was it really?
I want to say so. Maybe I'm wrong. But
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I remember.
Maybe
that.
that's why.
Right.
could be.
Maybe.
But he,
Like, oh yeah, that.
it was
doesn't
either
sound
them
right.
or I know they had burned an LP in the middle of American Forks football field. So
Oh, really? Oh, that was me
Javon.
and Brandon.
Oh, it was you and Brandon.
Me and
You
Brandon
tried
got caught.
to.
Yeah.
Oh, you
That's
did
what it
that?
was.
We went. the night
Did you
before.
actually do it though, or
We had
did
weed
you try
killer,
to?
and we tried. And as soon as we got to the field, there was a cop like 100 yards away.
surprising, man.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was
so
you.
dumb. Yeah,
For some reason, I didn't put you there. I thought it was Javon, and I guess it wasn't.
that was Brandon, Andre, and I.
I know Brandon. I remember Brandon doing it.
He apparently got permission from his parents, and I didn't. I just kind of slipped out the back door, and we went.
Do you think you would have gotten permission from your parents?
Nope.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
How does a
Kids are gonna
parent
do this.
get permission to go do something?
Yeah,
like
right?
that?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I remember him saying something that he was, but we were still hiding. So for some reason I had that thought in my head, like your parents told you could come out, and maybe he told them we were going to go do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could have
That's
been
what I
the
used
case.
to do. I get it.
Yeah.
I get
A
it.
roundabout saying what you're doing, but not the details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it was whenever I'd go with Todd or Kevin. I was always like, "Yep, we're gonna go hang out and do something stupid." You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Those guys.
stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
So funny. And then how many siblings do you have?
There's a total of 5 of us. I'm the oldest, so
Okay.
oldest, and then she's the youngest. Obviously, different dynamics
funny,
between
yeah.
the two.
It's
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah. Is that like helpful or not?
I think
Or
it helps us fit
both.
together.
It's interesting because, like, I mean, growing up, I was always the last of everything. And so to see him and to start with, like, I was the first in-law, and that was hard because
Yeah.
their parents were, like, learning,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, we got to let our son go, and this
Yeah.
is who they like. And anyways, you know, so it was hard, I'm sure. And it's just funny to see the difference that their parents are now because they've gone through 5 kids. And
Right.
anyways, so it's fun to see the different dynamics of starting and finishing
Yeah.
a family. So
I imagine you fit in pretty good there.
Yeah.
You get
I don't
along
know.
pretty
I don't know if they like me. No, I'm just kidding.
well. Everybody likes Amanda.
Yeah.
Sometimes probably more than me, actually.
No.
Which we'll get into that part of the story.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes. These are my
And your
favorite.
kids are really similar ages. We didn't talk about that yet, right?
Yeah. So you guys.
To our kids. We really have
Well,
very
like,
similar.
hold on. So
Go ahead.
you went on your mission,
Oh yeah.
came back.
You
Then
dated though before you left. You were in high
Yeah,
school,
so
and
we
you
were high
wrote.
school. We were high school sweethearts.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
In fact, cutest couple in
Yeah.
the yearbook. So
Does
we
it say?
looked that
That's
up.
awesome.
Yeah.
Really?
You gotta
Yeah.
get the yearbook out and look at it.
It was us and
my
one
heck.
other couple, but
Yeah.
we're the only ones still together.
There you go.
Worked out.
That's all that
So
matters.
who actually won?
Yeah.
But yeah, we dated. It was off and on for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Mostly
Before
on.
he went on his mission, though, he told me he's like, go out on date, go get married, all this stuff. Like he was totally like writing me off, you know, right?
Had to
And
do
I was
that.
like, no, I'm not going to do that. So, and then when he went into the MTC, he actually wrote me another letter like, if you want to wait for me, you can. Anyway, so I went the whole 2 years without dating anyone, and I just went to school. Wrote him every week.
Way more loyal of a girlfriend.
Totally. You win.
Everybody was like,
You win.
you're not going to make it. There's no way that you can last that long. I'm like, oh, we will, because, you know, I was head over heels. So
Yeah.
anyways, of
course.
so I went to school, and he
That's awesome.
served, and
Yeah.
we were in contact the whole time with letters and stuff. And
Yep.
yeah. And then he came home, and it was what? How many days after you asked me?
9 days.
9 days after?
To get married?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got home on December 15th, and it was Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I
Big
was so
family get
blown
together,
away.
which she should have seen the signs anyway. 'cause
I should have.
Her family and my family don't typically come together, and they
Yeah,
did
yeah.
for that one day, and
Oh, right on.
yeah.
I was oblivious.
That is super
That's
fast.
awesome,
But you
though.
knew? How did
Yeah.
you get a ring? What did you
So I
do?
had one already before I got home.
Oh, okay.
We were checking some things out. Sierra West actually helped
Yeah.
us. Tim Bramscombe,
Yep. That's
your
where we-
old neighbor.
Yep.
Yeah.
You found the diamond out in Texas, though. Right?
Well, kind
Or
of, sort of.
something. Oh, maybe I don't know this real story. Here we go.
No, it was a little over 100 years old. It was handed
Oh, wow.
down, that kind of stuff. We wanted a little bit of a background to it. And so it was an old lady who was just trying to get off on some extra cash she needed. And yeah,
That's cool.
obviously we picked it up. And I mean, granted, this could be coming from Tim, so who knows if it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know Tim that well, so.
He was a salesman for sure, huh?
Yeah.
So,
He's pretty awesome.
Good story.
but-
We'll
He's a
keep
good
it, though.
guy.
But
Yeah,
he
he's a good guy.
yeah.
yeah, so then we got married in May after that. So it was about 6 months later. We were married. Of course, she already had the venue, and she had the date and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's
already set
because,
up.
so my mom, she was a florist, and so she
Oh, yeah.
was very involved with weddings, and so it wasn't hard to do.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that from your
Yeah,
Instagram
that's
posts.
cool.
A lot of your flowers and everything are really pretty.
Yeah, I just took a little portion of her business. She was like all day, every day, from morning to night. She was doing flowers, and so I just took a portion of hers after she
just
passed
the
away.
funeral side.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I'm not as busy as her, but it's fun.
So you do that now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Way cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then, so got married. When
Yeah.
did you get, so December we got engaged, then
May, married.
married in May.
So let me back up here. When we got
Go.
married,
Yes.
it was very I don't know, important for me, I guess at the time to kind of do I don't know, how do you want to explain that, but more along the lines of like the the elite LDS Mormon type vision, if you want to call it that. So we got
Okay.
married at the Salt Lake Temple.
Nice.
Perfect.
We ended up going to
Good choice, by the way. Great temple.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful temple, a lot of history. That was one
Yeah.
of the main things there. And then we had our luncheon at where, hon?
At the Joseph Memorial Building.
There it is.
So yeah, we had a lot of. It was just very focused on. Really, I mean, it's going to sound bad, but the LDS Church. That was what we were focused on. But I was very much into that. I was very much into the doctrine of it. I wanted to have everything mean something, and so
Yeah.
going through the Salt Lake Temple, knowing the history behind it, and then the Joseph Smith Memorial Building. I know it was Hotel Utah, but just having Joseph Smith's name with it.
Right.
We did a few things over at the Limehouse as well. I mean, we had some food brought in, but anyways, it was all kind of centered around that, and that was symbolic for us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Kind of our marriage was starting, but
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then we had our first, it was, February of 2008 was our first, and then the three followed.
yeah. So it was right around. I don't know if we want to get into the faith side of it, transition of it,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
it was right
out.
around maybe a year or so before Bentley was born. And
I
he
was pregnant when you,
It was right around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 2011. Yeah, 2011.
So you got married in 07.
Eight.
06, I'm sorry.
I mean,
06.
sorry.
Yeah.
And then baby in 08. Sorry. That's what it was.
Yeah. So we've been married together for a while. We've been
Yeah.
together for 21 years, but
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, my I guess we're kind of jumping into this now, but my history is that I was very much into the deep doctrine stuff. I was very much into full-fledged, or I don't want to be like a half-asser. That was
Yeah.
not
Sure.
who I was. So,
Yeah.
you could probably attest to that, Hayden, when we were hanging out back in high school, because I remember having gospel discussions with some of the friends, and that was just the way we were. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that was to keep me on track because I was doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing back in those days. I mean, between me, Drew, Kevin, Todd, you,
All of us being a pain in the ass.
oh,
Yeah.
we were horrible.
see, it was funny when we were in high school because, going to seminary, that was a lot of times I would be sloughing seminary a lot of times, and he would always make me feel
I never would.
so terrible. Like, how would you dare do that? Like, why are you doing that? You need to be here. And so I always felt so terrible.
One of my memories of you actually is because we were a little rowdy, and then you kind of came around and were like prepping for mission and stuff. And I remember hanging out with you, and we would pass by the temple, and you would like turn the music off. And I'm like, "What the
Yeah.
hell are you doing, dude? This is like a good song." And you're like, "Well, the music," and I'm like, "Okay, well, cool, okay, whatever," and like,
Yeah, it wasn't appropriate to have Eminem,
Yeah.
go on past the temple.
but we could listen once we got past the temple. It was okay. Yeah, it's just funny the funny things like that you do, right?
Weird stuff like that.
yeah,
So, yeah.
and
And now he turns it way up so you can hear it.
yeah, there you go. There you go by.
It's all out of principle.
Yeah.
But no, so I was very much into it. I was not going to be this person that was on the sideline and just jumping in from time to time. I was in the game and I was playing full fledged. So that was kind of me. And then when we obviously you were pregnant with Bentley. It was kind of a culmination of everything up to this point. So obviously I had my shelves that were built over the years, and if you want to call it decades, my first transition, I don't know what you call it, seed, if you want to call it that, would have been back in seminary. I had learned that Joseph Smith had more than one wife. That
Yeah.
was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I had read No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't. I'm trying to think of which one. I'm thinking No Man Knows My history, but that's
History,
not
yeah.
the one. It's
Yeah.
it was the autobiography or biography done by Lucy Mack Smith. I can't remember what it was called, but
Yeah,
I read that.
I think I might have that book actually. Yeah.
well, I read it, and the part that stood out to me the most is that when Emma came home to the Nauvoo house that they were living in, she looked at the top of the stairs and saw Joseph passionately kissing, as it says, basically his daughter. I mean, it wasn't a daughter; it was an adopted daughter, Fanny Alger.
Yeah.
Alger. How do you
His
say
mom
that?
says that.
Yeah, she
Okay.
talks about how Emma came home and saw that and was just totally distraught by it. Obviously, there's more to that story, but me hearing that there was one other, obviously I didn't know there were 34 or whatever, however many others there were at the time. But when I had heard that, it was always Emma and Joseph, and that was it. You always knew Brigham Young was a horny little bastard. But you never heard about Joseph, so you kind of took it with a grain of salt. And then when you heard that Joseph Smith had more than one, it was very earth-shattering to me. So I want to say I was 14 or 15 at the time, and that was when I actually met Kevin and Todd, and they kind of helped me and kind of get through some of that mental stuff there. But they weren't really into church at all, and that wasn't something I wanted. I just wanted to kind of work through some things. And it's about the same time my mom's parents had passed away, so a little bit earth-shaking at the time for me, for a little 14, 15-year-old kid. But I was able to work through it, and then kind of broke away again. But it was kind of a love-hate relationship. And then I became, as back in our day, it was a player. The saying that when obviously don't hate the player, hate the game.
Dating all the chicks.
And I bring this up because this is part of our relationship with Amanda and I. It was around the time, so I was dating one of her friends. You remember Katie McMillan?
Yeah.
So I was dating her at the time. We had gone on a couple of dates.
Was she a year younger than us?
She was our
same age.
Yeah. She had just barely moved in, brand new to the area.
I remember the name. I can't put a face. Sorry. But yeah.
Yeah. So she and we kissed, but it didn't really work out. And, it is what it is. But what is nice about that is she helped me set up a date with Amanda, because they were good friends. They lived in the same ward. They lived in the same area. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another. Yeah, one thing led to another, and obviously we became boyfriend, girlfriend. Amanda and I did, and
our first date was Sweethearts, is where we started. So.
Oh, how funny!
And then that's what led to us getting married later. And I bring that up because obviously our relationship was kind of established on getting to know each other, and we weren't getting together because of the church or any of that kind of stuff. It was because of us. It was who we are and who we wanted to be around, and those things. And later on, obviously, we tried to institute some of the church stuff into it, but I wasn't big into the church when I met her.
Okay, so you hadn't.
He was considered like a bad boy in my book.
Was he? How did you feel about that? Did you know that about?
Well, first of all, I didn't.
Early on?
I'm like, he knows who I am. Like, I don't know. I just, he was above me. I wasn't known very much in high school, and anyways, so I was just surprised.
Cousins.
Yeah, I don't know. You were known. So I was surprised that he'd even look my direction, and so I was. I mean, I think it was more of the fact I was scared because I've never liked somebody like him or whatever,
Sure.
But then I had a really good time and wanted more, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we just continued.
Well, I kind of took the approach differently than I normally would have. I would normally go off and kiss on the first date and hold hands and all that good stuff. And I was waiting on her. I was wanting her to make sure that she knew it was more real rather than this, thing that I was already doing before. So
yeah,
that's cool.
That's interesting because that's kind of the approach. I was in this life-changing moment when I met Jess, and that was the same thing. I don't know, we didn't even hold hands for 2 months or something, and I was like, I don't know if this girl likes me. We'd hung out all the time, but we were hung out every weekend for 4 months before we called ourselves boyfriend girlfriend, right?
Yeah, it'd been a long time.
That. Yeah. But
I don't think you really wanted to say we were boyfriend and girlfriend for a long time.
I don't even think I did, even before we left. I left on a mission.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was very less clingy, but I knew I liked her. I just didn't know where it was going to go with it because of the whole guilt culture, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you're told not to. Well, the whole lock your heart mission story. Do you remember that whole talk that was done? But
vaguely, but I know what you're referencing. Yeah.
Well, when we first get to the mission, that was what they tell you to read is the lock your heart talk, and it was, if you have a girlfriend, lock her in your heart, keep her there, and hold her until the end of your mission. If you don't have a girl, lock your heart and keep anybody out until you get off your mission.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
it was.
Well, it's tough. That was one of the hard. We had actually dropped the love word. Did you guys say you loved each other before you left?
I did.
You did?
Or not.
But
You hadn't, huh?
I mean,
withheld it.
he did, but it wasn't
I did it
Just because I said it, kind
symbolically.
of.
Yeah, it was weird.
Well, it's hard.
Weird.
It's hard because I think, like,
Now I need to
with,
know.
as guys, right? You're just, I don't know. We're just different creatures. But like when like you're gone for 2 years, we can't date, we can't do anything, and they were like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen. So you kind of do just get, it's a little insecurity, I guess, and a little bit of like anything can happen. So I need to like armor myself up, prepare myself for anything that could happen, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
is
I'm
what
a
it is.
prepare for the worst, hope for the best type guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was preparing that she may not be there.
Totally.
And if anything else happened along the way, meaning that if we fell in love again or whatever, however it worked, it was going to be better than the worst. So
Yeah. Well, clearly the mission went well enough that you got home.
yeah,
And were like,
I mean,
okay,
I guess I could probably
understand.
say I did request to come home and transfer early. We had some family things going on that I wanted to be a part of, and
Cool.
I wanted to try and save a few things. It was just the way things were back then.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of my family, and we won't go into that story because that's not why I'm here. But
Sure.
yeah, there was a lot of family stuff going on, and the family was kind of falling apart. So I felt like I needed to be home, and I did. And it wasn't necessarily because all of it was that. It was more I did want to get home to Amanda. I knew at that time it was going to be the rest of my life. So
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, so it was right around. We get back on track, I guess.
Yeah.
And now we just start talking about other things.
No, it's good. It's good. It gives us the full story. We love it.
Yeah, so getting back to when Bentley was, well, he was.
I was pregnant
You were
with
pregnant with him, yeah.
So this
I
around
remember it very
2011, you
clearly
said?
when you came.
Right around
into-
2000. It was a little. It was 2006, 2010, the end of 2010, and yeah, right around that time, I want to say.
I was pretty close. I think. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
So you've been married about 5 years,
Yeah, and I had started kind of this path, and I was starting to. I didn't know how to really get into that path, but I was in the
You
elders
found
quorum
a
presidency.
website though, is what you.
Well, I'll get back to that in a minute.
sorry.
But I was in the elders quorum presidency, and really loving it. I was having a good time. I was one of those guys that I would call at the beginning of the month to get my home teaching done. I'd call the families that, or all the guys that needed to do their home teaching and just say, hey, today's the first of the month. You got the rest of the month to get it over with, that kind of stuff. But it wasn't that I was trying to just check the list. I was actually trying to get to know my people. So I would really do it the first of the month to say, hey, when can we come over? So that they had the entire month to think about when I could come over and chat with them, get to know them a little bit. And yeah, I kind of just kept rolling with that. And I became a gospel doctrine instructor shortly after that, and was just studying some stuff and learning about, I don't remember what the topic was, but I fell into MormonThink.com.
Yep.
This is before you had the Mormon Stories podcast. This is before the letter. This is before everything that's out there. I mean, all the essays that you've got. I just kind of was wanting to know more about specific topics, not because I was looking to leave. I was actually trying to become a better teacher,
Yeah.
to understand more of the doctrine itself, because that's all I ever did on the mission, for example. And prior to the mission, I thought my testimony was pretty much impeccable at the time, because I had already known more about the church than other people did. And
Well, yeah, even at 13 and 14, you're reading that book. I'm like,
right.
we didn't
Yeah, I
even
didn't
hear
think
about
about
that
it.
book until
his
later.
personality is he doesn't leave it just like scratch the surface. He has to delve into it and like
Yeah.
know everything about whatever it is that he's learning about.
Yeah.
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 Well, were you kind of in the Bible Belt too, where you were at? Would they call
Oh,
it
yeah.
that?
No,
like
it's
you're
the buckle.
in it?
Yeah, they
Okay,
call it
gotcha.
buckle.
So did you come across a lot of things against the church and all that on?
Oh,
that
yeah.
was one thing I did not come across. Like my mission was not that way.
It was daily. So
Okay.
one of the first days I was there, I was in a place called Sunnyside, Houston area. So it's a very, I don't know, it's a very rundown. It was back when we were there. It's a very rundown area. We were the only white boys in the area. And
Gotcha.
we knocked on one guy's door. He ended up being a preacher.
Oh, nice.
Which I think there was kind of a dime a dozen down there.
Sure.
But this guy, he invited us in, and then he started chatting with us and asking us if we had a first edition Book of Mormon. And I said, well, no, I don't have one. He says, well, I have one. And so he pulled one out, started going over a couple of things. And again, this is like my first day. I'm just a little greenie with my companion, my trainer. And he told me that there were well over 4,000 changes just from the first edition to I think it was the 1970s version, the old blue book that they had.
Yeah.
He had them both side by side, and he pulled out specifics on there. And
He talked to Mormon boys before.
yeah,
Yeah,
he,
right.
he knew.
He was
He saw us coming. We were the low-flying mallards in his book. So it was right after we left, because I didn't say a thing.
Yeah.
My trainer at the time, and Jordan Miles is his name, but we don't really keep in touch anymore. But anyways, he was very forthright in coming forward and basically saying, yeah, it's all true. That is exactly what he was saying. It was exactly what it needed to be. Meaning there were well over 4,000 changes, and you just need to accept that.
Yeah.
So I just shelved it. That was one of my first shelving moments on the mission. And then shortly after that, it became, it was blacks in the priesthood. It was all these different topics that I never really jumped into, but they knew quite a bit more than I did.
This is on your mission.
On the mission, yeah. And then there was a couple of moments like Seventh-day Adventists we came across a lot of, and I guess Ellen G. White, and this is going back, I used to know a lot more about this, but she was good friends with Joseph Smith, and she had the same type of vision, quote unquote,
Okay.
as he did, where he saw God sitting upon his throne with the heavenly hosts of heaven, or whatever you want to call that scripture that he talks about. But she's had the same type of vision, and the story, at least that I was told when I was there, was that he and Ellen were both talking back and forth to each other via letters, and Joseph had told her his story, and then she stole that story, and then it became like the Seventh-day Adventist
Interesting.
thing.
I was
So-
going to say, I thought I heard they were connected. We were connected somehow, but I couldn't remember. I don't know how I even had that.
Well, and it
thought.
was hard to talk to them because, again, as Amanda was saying, and I'm probably talking way too much, but as Amanda was saying, I tried to learn everything there is to know about it, and in this case, I did. So I tried to learn as much as I could about the Church of Christ, which, if you go back to the history roots of that, from what I could understand on that, there's a little bit of a root there with Joseph Smith as well as Sidney Rigdon and so on. And granted, I'm not the scholar or anything like that. This is just stuff I found. And then
Sure.
Ellen G. White and him were talking, and talking to a Seventh-day Adventist at the time. We were trying to convert, obviously, with the sales tactics that we were given. And we'd say, do you believe that there could be a prophet today? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. You're like, sweet. All right, well, yeah, let's
Check.
get you baptized. They're like, we believe everyone could be a prophet. And you're like, oh, well, we're back to square one. Don't know what I'm doing now. So it was trying to learn from that to see if there was a way to really persuade them out of their current belief and into the new belief that we were trying to introduce to them. So yeah, that was, again, my mission. There was a lot of different circumstances like that came up that I kept shelving left and right. Polygamy became a big thing. Yeah, so getting back on track there, the reason why I bring all that up is because it just kept stacking and stacking and stacking.
So you're you're teaching gospel doctrine, and you're studying everything. You could start coming across things. What kind of time period was it? Was it like all in one day? Did it unravel over a few months?
So I told her when she was pregnant with our second, and it would have been almost a year and a half since I had been really digging into it. It took me about a year.
I mean, I noticed some things that like he would start talking about, like, did you hear about this, or have you heard, like he would say things. It wasn't necessarily like, hey, I'm not believing this anymore or anything like that. It was more just like, do you know about this or anything,
Yeah.
But he wouldn't go much farther than that. It's just more
Yeah.
like, is he the only one that's ever known this or not known this, or, kind of a thing.
But back then, it wasn't really known, some of the things that
Yeah.
I'm bringing up. Whereas today, everyone's like, oh, yeah, we've always known about that.
Right.
I'm like, all bullshit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And how did that, like, when he came to you?
Honestly, I remember it like it was yesterday. I will say that because this is a big like thing in our life,
Totally.
we've built our marriage on this he was very staunch on everything. There were some things that I kind of felt terrible about because I didn't know those things or wasn't great with, knowledge on scriptures and whatever. So
We used to read scripture like every night,
Yeah.
pray together,
Yeah. I mean, it was,
Before we had a kid, we were told we were supposed to pray about it,
Yeah.
together before you did the deed.
yeah. I mean, it was, yeah, it was
Okay.
very like,
It was bad.
Nothing kills the mood.
he was
like that.
very,
That's cool.
it was like, I know, right? I'm
Have
like,
a good
how
prayer.
did we ever make it through on that?
Let's pray.
I'm telling you, dude. There's a lot of weird culture that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
heard that one.
And he
so.
was like, I'm not even kidding. I don't even know what word you want to say, but you were very,
I was very staunch.
very, very
very
staunch.
orthodox.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the letter of the law, like everything.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
the same way. And I wonder if that's why we struggled too, is because they were like,
The analytical side.
yes,
Yeah.
and like I won't rob the conversation, I promise. But this was kind of our conversation the other day, like
Literally last night.
yeah, was it last night?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're talking to Maddie, our oldest, and maybe we can get in that in a little bit, but like, I'm kind of telling them like the doctrine and everything is pretty black and white. Like you make promises and covenant and everything to live a certain way and to do certain things, and we're a little more progressive in this house. So you're in or you're not. Like, what are you doing? And so it kind of led to this whole discussion. And I'm like, no wonder our kids are confused. Like, I have faith in certain things, and I just real plainly, like I pray and I believe in God and Christ, and I try to. Other than that, I keep it there. And then we have like this whole other side where we kind of want to keep the kids in the church, and it's a good foundation and everything like that over here. And so there's conflict. So that's why I'm curious to kind of dive into this. Sorry, and I'll shut up now.
Absolutely.
But,
No,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I was just really surprised because, I mean, he basically, and I'll kind of give a little bit of a story because, so my dad growing up, he was excommunicated actually right when I was born. And so like
Your dad was.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I mean, it wasn't that he was like against the church or like didn't believe it or any of that kind of stuff. It was just, anyways. So
Yeah.
I grew up not having like the priest in our home and like having my dad be there every Sunday. And so, I wasn't like the black and white growing up, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know. And so, anyways, marrying Brandon, it was kind of almost hard for me because I'm like, holy crap, like we can't do anything other than like, you know. And so it was really hard. And then,
So it was even hard for you.
Yeah.
You're like, this is a little
this,
overboard.
it was intense. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot, and which I was like, okay, great, you know, whatever. It was good, you know.
Yeah,
and-
because you're like you're just trying to help us be better. We're just trying
Yeah.
to grow. Yeah.
But I mean, my mom was she was like the true blue Mormon type person, very faithful, she was really society present twice and incredible. Like she was the most faithful person I've ever met and still to this day, honestly. But anyways, so I had the two different, you know, scenarios, I guess you could say, of my dad not being there all the time. And then my mom would go every week and she'd go to the temple every month, and she made a promise, you know, to do that. And she raised us in the church, and we were, you know, we knew what was expected, and but yet she gave us choice at the same time. Like we weren't in trouble. Like some people are, you know, they get in trouble because they didn't go to church or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
She gave us choice, and so it was a little more open, I guess you could say, the way I was raised. And so anyways, so marrying Brandon and changing like the everything letter of the law, it was different. It was hard, yes. But we got used to that, and that's how our relationship started in our marriage and everything. But then he started questioning it, and it was actually the same week that my dad was being rebaptized into the church.
Oh, really? So your dad was not a member for your whole life?
Yeah, I was
essentially.
25.
Or, yeah, till you okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for 25 years, I had wanted my dad to be rebaptized
Yeah.
back into the church. And,
Wow.
you know, and I knew how hard that was for my mom, not having him there all the time. And just, you know,
Sure.
she went to church by her, you know, I mean, with us kids, but she didn't have her spouse with her, you know? And so I grew up knowing all of the hardness-ship of that. And anyways, so the week that he actually finally decided to be rebaptized, my husband's coming to me saying,
You're like, wait, what the?
The week.
I don't believe it anymore.
The week.
It was the
Okay,
same
so
week.
you didn't come to her until you were done.
Correct.
Okay.
So
I mean, like I said,
You
there
saw
was
little signs.
there
and
was things that he was talking about, and I kind of like, you know, you doubt in the church, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of your like building your testimony, like that's what you
So-
do, right?
Yeah, but let me kind of also put this into what actually broke the camel's back was the City Creek Center being completed.
Oh, really?
There was a report done by KSL, obviously church owned, that I read, and it was talking about the overall cost. Which fast forward to today, everybody knows now there was some tithing money that went into that.
Yeah.
But back then, I kind of looked into it and read between the lines and saw there was a lot of mismanagement of funds. There was a lot of people getting wealthy that shouldn't have been getting wealthy off of something like that. I mean, you look at just the whole idea that
I actually don't know the whole story of that, but I know there are some people that...
The main thing is for me, it was that it cost $5 billion to build that entire thing. And that talked about like, you know, your apartments, the grocery store, all that kind of stuff, the whole thing, as well as the mall, for $5 billion at the time. And I'm thinking, gosh, that's just a lot of money.
Yeah.
So then I started looking at the most expensive building prior to that, which is in Dubai. It cost about $2.1 billion.
Oh,
and
really?
then I started thinking, well, gosh, that's more than double for that, you know, just for that little mall here in Utah. Why would that be even a thing? And then I started thinking, well, gosh, okay, what have they done humanitarian wise over the last 25 years since that time? And it was right around 1.9 billion at the time. In 25 years, I'm going, well, shoot, are we more of a mall building company or, you know, church, or are we more of a humanitarian church? And that's kind of what broke it.
That's interesting because I remember our bishop when we were first married, early on, mentioning how much it had cost to build it, and he kind of he thought it was kind of cool, and I was like, yeah, that's freaking that's rad. Like Mormons are cool. Look how much money we have. Like that's how I took it. I'm like, we're pretty freaking.
But not like
talk about. I know it sounds so douchey, but I remember having that thought like. That's freaking baller. Like we just built a $5 billion mall or six. I thought it was actually more than that.
The conservative estimate was right around $5 billion from what KSL had said. And
for some reason I had like 6 or 7 billion in my head, but I don't know. Maybe
well,
it's
the
5.
whole thing
we'll
that comes to my
whatever.
mind is the phrase Thomas Monson that says, let's go shopping when he cuts the ribbon. It's like, why would God's mouthpiece have to say something like that? You know, Louis Vuitton or whatever. I don't know. Tiffany's.
I'm so sorry. I have to pee again.
You would.
I drink a ton of water this morning.
Go.
We want to pause it or you want to keep going and I'll just jump back in? I don't want to ruin the flow. This is good. This is like getting good and I'm like, I don't want to stop. So
You're good.
yeah, if anyone has to go, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm just going to wear a diaper the next one.
Gross.
He was just telling me how.
Welcome back, Aiden.
Thank you. Back. So the straw that broke the camel's back was the building of the mall, City Creek Mall.
Yeah.
And then your dad is about to get baptized this week. This is just before. And how did the conversation go down?
Yeah.
So the joke is that he was walking in the building and we were high-fiving on the way as I was on the way out.
I mean, because like the whole time we were like dating or married and stuff, he was the one that was like inviting him to go to priesthood session and like, you know, my dad would always say no. And anyways, and Brandon kept on saying one of these times we're going to get him to go. Like, you know,
it's the time where he would have said yes. Like, I'm out.
And then he
$8 short, bro.
Could have had a beer together. Too bad.
Right, that's true. So, anyways, it was like we said, it was the same week, and so it was hard. Like, I just remember standing there looking at Brandon like, you're kidding me.
Was this at your house? Were you guys at home?
We lived with her parents at the time.
Yeah, we were in our basement.
Her dad had a health scare, and with my expertise at the time, I'm a respiratory therapist by trade. We moved in to try and help him out, and that was why we were there. Yeah. So it was a little bit more dense of a situation, I think, because of what was going on. Meaning that I was having a transition. She was wanting me to stay in. It was John Delen's first podcast that he did. It was Why Good Mormons Leave. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever listened to it. It's very staticky, but John very much just goes into it and basically says stuff to the effect of good Mormons don't leave because they want to sin. They don't want to go off and do all these different things or whatever. They're doing it because they want to become a better gospel doctrine teacher. They want to become a better Elders Quorum president or Relief Society president or whatever, or even just a better home teacher for that matter. This whole ministry thing, I can't say that, but
we laugh because we just had this conversation.
Right. So it was that type of the idea that helped me understand that I'm not a bad person for thinking what I was thinking. And so it gave me the courage to actually approach Amanda that week to tell her, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I was trying to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and I'm a all in or nothing type person. So
Yeah.
my personality just won't let me allow it to go any other way. And yeah, so I was high-fiving her dad on the way, as he was on the way in and I was on the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that conversation end? Was it just kind of like, we'll continue this later, or did you just need some time to digest it, Amanda, or what was your?
I gave her some time to digest it because she needed it.
Well, and I will admit now, like because I was pregnant, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, so I still regret that I asked you this, and I'm so sorry. But I looked at him like, so are you gonna like bless this baby? Like, can you do that? And I'm like,
Yeah.
and now I'm sitting, I'm like, that's what I was worried about. Like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
That was so stupid. I mean,
No,
you know,
it's not.
No.
It's-
I did, by the way.
you did, yeah, great, good for you. You know, and it's not a
'cause
dumb question.
I was
'cause that's
almost
how
ready
it,
to have our baby. Like,
Yeah, we were within a month or so.
Well, and at that point,
Yeah.
you were probably still plenty worthy
yeah,
to do
Right.
it.
I
It
had
wasn't
done
like
it.
it was a big
yeah. It was
no,
just,
no. It was just yeah.
I mean, it is. It's dumb that that's what I was worried about, but that's what I was like. It was more of like, okay, so you're saying that you're done, but are you? Like, that's what was my thought. Of
questioning.
like, really?
Yeah.
Are you? Because you were more into this than I was. Like, how
Yeah.
can that be? Like, what? You know? So it was just more just a shock, honestly, and then I was just emotional anyways because my dad was finally like, I've been waiting for 25 years for him to get rebaptized. And I'm like, I'm gaining my dad, but I'm losing my husband. Like, how do I do that? Like, how do I
right.
manage that, I guess? And it was really hard. Like,
well,
really hard.
mentally, I was struggling to know what to say to her, what to do in this circumstance, because none of us had ever been in this territory, and this
Yeah.
is prior to the exits of most of who we know today have all left.
yeah, you were early. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
It was way too early, and so I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Didn't have an understanding of what I needed to do, and so all I could think of at the time is you know what, communication's been the best for us, so let's just talk about it, talk through it. That's how I was raised. So thanks, Mom and Dad, for that. Because
Yeah, that's so great.
we
for
didn't
you, man.
we didn't hide behind our words. We tried to talk through them as much as possible, and in this case, I did. And I talked to Amanda, and I just said, "Hey, I want you to know that I am not going against everything that we've already built up to this point. In fact, our beginning is still there. Our backbone is still there of what our relationship is. I choose you over the church. I choose you over anything. And at this point, I was still working through whether I believed in God or Jesus or any of that kind of stuff. But I basically just said, you are my number one, and I choose you. So nothing has changed there. Our temple covenant, all that stuff, yeah, it is, it's part of the organization, but my promises are still there.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. And so I don't know if that really helped her or not, but
No, I mean, I obviously it did because we're still here. But no, it was just more of like, at first in my mind, I was sitting there thinking, okay, I've got to change your mind. Like, I've got to make him love this again and like get all these doubts out of his head. Like, that's what I like,
Yeah, yeah.
And then, I don't know, it was a couple of months after he had told me or whatever. And then it was like this realization. It's like, I can't change his mind. Like, he's going to feel and think the way he wants to. And it doesn't matter what I say. It's not going to change that.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of changing his mind, it was more of the steps of, I'm just going to love him. And if this is his choice, then this is his choice. And it didn't mean that I had to make that choice. It doesn't mean just because he was leaving that I had to.
Yeah.
I mean, it just definitely has changed a lot of thinking process of like how I thought a lot of situations or ways of like living or whatever, but it didn't change the fact like I still love the church too, and I wanted to stay, and that was okay, and we were going to work on it, and we did, and it was hard. It wasn't easy. It wasn't an overnight thing at all.
Right.
But we didn't tell everybody about it. It was just Amanda and I at this point. And
Yeah.
I did the baby blessing for Bentley.
Mm-hmm.
But it had nothing spiritual in it. It was more just, you'll be a good man one day. You'll, grow to do this and that if you want. It wasn't
very.
It was very open, and
Yeah.
there was not a lot of, you're going to be a prophet one day, and you're going to bring last dispensation to a close, that kind of stuff. We never brought that up.
Yeah.
It was just very, you're going to be a good kid,
Yeah.
and we're going to love you.
Well, I kind of mentioned early on just before we started that we kind of we did this on, hey, we had relationships and that we had the church thing, and that was hard, and we could talk about that. And part of the reason I wanted you guys on is because I'd been on this is not always the best place to go for a lot of reasons, but like ex-Mormon Reddit and all the other not just that, but
Funny
like,
you bring that one up, actually.
That was his place.
yeah. Well, then there's like the other groups, Mormon Stories One, or these other groups, and I would read these stories, and it would seriously just like break my heart to read. My spouse is leaving me. I've tried to talk to them about how I'm feeling. My spouse is leaving me. My kids or my parents are disowning me. I'm out of the will, or I feel like I need to come clean and finally tell my parents where I'm at. They've already disowned all my other siblings that have left. I don't know what to do. And I got thinking this too when you were talking about your grandpa that was a Baptist and converted over, and it was hard for his parents, you were saying, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, we celebrate so much people getting converted into Mormonism, and we try to give them this, like, put an arm around them. And I remember actually my stepmom, she was a convert, and her family had a really hard time with her being baptized. It was actually when I was like in 9th grade. But you don't think about when people leave Mormonism, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's the same
It is.
exact story of people having the same
Heartache,
struggles.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, man, like, I thought it would be awesome to have you guys on. Like, how have you made it work, or was divorce even something that came across your